All right. So we're going to start with GLP-1s. We'll do a little bit of GLP-3 at the end. But so the GLP-1 issues that we're seeing. So GLP-1s, real quick, do a couple things. But the major things they do is they affect the hypothalamus, so that your body, you just don't have the drive to eat. So it helps you not eat. So it helps you with satiety. And then it affects the stomach and gastric emptying, so you feel full longer. Okay. So basically, GLP-1s really help people to just not eat. Which is fine. Fasting is a fantastic way of, losing weight and getting healthy, the whole deal. The problem we run into is that your body's going to run on the chemistry that you give it, and it's going to maintain running on the chemistry you give it, specifically from a hormonal function. So if you've been in what we call a glucose-fed state, which is you're running on sugar the whole time, one of the things that you're going to see if you just stop eating is your body's going to attack your muscle tissue to stay in a sugar-fed state. If your body doesn't produce enough glucagon is the hormone that tells your body to burn fat. If you don't produce enough because you've been in an insulin functional state for too long, or you have insulin resistance, and so you're producing tons of insulin blocks glucagon. So if your body's producing a bunch of insulin, you're not going to produce very much glucagon. So you're going to burn fat for sure, because you have to burn fat in order to tear the muscle tissue apart to get the sugar out of it. That's the process of gluconeogenesis. So you're definitely going to burn some fat, but you're also going to lose a bunch of muscle tissue. So if you look at a lot of these GLP-1 studies, it's looking about like where we're talking about muscle loss. So like, oh my gosh, like 30 to 50% of the weight that's lost was lean muscle tissue, which you definitely 100% don't want. The problem with this is that it's not that difficult to remedy. So what you want to do is you want to increase the protein intake so your body has protein to tear apart that is not your muscle tissue. Pretty simple. If it needs protein to tear apart, give it some protein. Don't have it tear apart your muscle tissue. So that's the primary function. Secondary thing is that you want to make sure that the body is being told to maintain muscle tissue. Well, you got to do that with hormonal functions. So you're looking at either bringing the testosterone levels up where they're supposed to be, which should be a mandatory thing. You've got to do that before you start coming on GLP-1s regardless. But not everybody understands testosterone function. So you get your testosterone levels up. One of the other things that's been floating around that will work, not my preferred path, but will definitely work, is to just use peptides for like HC or HGH, so human growth hormone. That will work, but the problem there's problems with that downstream, especially if you're taking it for long periods of time, and you're only getting, if you're not taking stuff with DAC, you're only getting small bursts, and so it's harder to regulate. Just the testosterone is the best way to do this. Just do testosterone. You can do them both. Like I love both, but just do the testosterone. That would be my advice on the growth hormone adjuncts. So, because you got to tell the body chemically, hey, maintain the muscle tissue. In fact, why don't you grow a little bit more? The other side of that is you're going to have to tell the body physically, we need the muscle tissue. So do some, you don't have to go to the gym and work out for 2 hours every day, but physicalities matters in this. So if you were doing body weight squats, great. If you're doing band work, great. You got to do something to tell the body, maintain this muscle mass. So those are some of those things. Now, the other thing we see is cholecystitis. So liver, gallbladder, like issues in that area. Here's the thing. So your body uses bile to break down fat. If you haven't been producing bile for a long time because you've been running on sugars or whatever, you've been storing fat instead of burning it, well, the problem is that your body's not used to making it, so it can't make it very well. Think of it this way. If you haven't been to the gym in 6 months and you go in and you just get the most hardcore, crazy 2-hour workout in, you're going to be sore as all get out the next 2-3 days. Same idea with your liver. If it hasn't been producing bile properly, you're not just going to all of a sudden be like, oh, we can produce tons and tons of bile. So you have to support that. And here's the thing. We talk about this a lot with gallstones. I do the whole gallstones aren't real thing. Like, here's my ring. Here's my hand. This is my ring in my hand. It's not a hand ring. The gallbladder makes nothing. The gallbladder holds things. Your liver makes the bile. So gallbladder problems are actually really liver problems. So what happens is that for a lot of people, they don't have enough methylated B6 because they're using methylated B6 to fix homocysteine and all the other things. And that's also why they can't sleep very well, but it's a totally different subject. So they don't have enough methylated B6. So the bile salts that's supposed to be a really slick, like WD-40 consistency, turns into rubber cement, and it turns into little balls. And those little balls of the liver get pushed into the gallbladder, and all those little balls get squished into bigger balls, and that's how we get gallstones. So again, it's a liver problem. So if we don't make sure that, hey, one, do we have enough methylated B6 to keep the bile that is being produced out of, turning into rubber cement, and we keep it liquefied? That's primary. Secondary function is, why don't we give extra bile? And so there's lots of ways of doing that supplementally. So, increase bile flow, bile function. And so now we have the bile that our body requires to actually emulsify, break down, and utilize the fat for fuel sources. Awesome. Way to go. So that would be the base function of what you've got to do. You got to make sure the body has enough minerals and the whole deal. So again, the body will only break down muscle tissue if it requires something that's in it for metabolic processes. So for instance, if it needs the protein to make sugar, it'll tear apart muscle tissue. If you run out of minerals, it'll rip those apart so that we can get minerals to the rest of the body. All of these things come with starvation. If you're not eating, you're not getting these nutrients in. Now, if you're like, I'm just not going to eat at all, that's fine as long as you supplement. Are you getting in your amino acids? Are you getting in your methylated B vitamins? Are you getting in your CoQ10? Are you getting in getting the nutrients, the chemicals that are required to make this machine run? If you're getting those in, you don't need to eat. You've just got to bring those chemicals into the body. So that's more or less where we are. That's a very short-term function, maybe 2 months. I would never do longer than that. That's just me. All right, let's go to the GLP-3s real quick. So this is like a retatrutide function. So the reason that one of the reasons, there's like a bunch. One of the reasons that Red is so much better than the GLP-1s is because it actually has glucagon as part of its structure. And so what ends up happening is that it raises glucagon levels. Remember, glucagon is the hormone that tells your body to burn the fat. And so if we want to burn the fat, we have to tell the body, hey, burn that fat. And the way you tell the body to do things is with hormones and peptides, because they're not exactly the same thing. But you go and you're like, hey, burn the fat. Awesome. And so now your body starts burning fat. But here's a really cool thing with GLP-1s is that insulin resistance starts dropping because your body's now pushing the glucagon function. And so your insulin starts production comes down, glucagon comes up, and it starts balancing that insulin to glucagon ratio. This is also why we see insulin resistance and we see diabetes, insulin resistance, and the things that come from insulin resistance, like diabetes and dementia and all that other stuff, starting to calm down and then reverse because we've changed the metabolic function that is driving those problems. So that's one of the reasons it's better. The other thing is that it really helps the liver start doing all the metabolic function it's supposed to do. And one of the major things that the liver is supposed to do is pull inflammation out of the body. Well, as you get these chemistries back together and you start getting insulin sensitivity back, which is the opposite of insulin resistance, as the insulin function starts working like it's supposed to and the glucagon function starts working like it's supposed to, the two major metabolic hormones in your body, insulin and glucagon, are now working properly, and the major metabolic function that happens in your body happens in the liver. So if we restore function to the liver, all of a sudden it can do its job and suck out all that inflammation and denature it, get rid of it. This works even better, again, if you have all the methylated B vitamins and you have all the chemistry your body requires to do that function. Again, this is a supplementation thing. But that's why Bretta is so much better than the GLP-1s, because not only does it tell your brain, hey, calm down. You don't have to eat, everything you see. It also tells your stomach, hey, tighten up a little bit. Because when your stomach doesn't empty very quickly, it gets stretched easier. And that stretch receptor sends out a hormone called leptin. Leptin tells the body, hey, you're full. Stop eating. And so everything kind of starts calming back down. And so, yeah, it has all the benefits of the GLP-1s, but it also has the hormone that tells the body to burn fat. So these GLP-3s are way better. On the other side of that, you still got to feed the body the chemicals it needs to do the thing. I talk about this all the time. You can't bake a cake without eggs. If you've got lots of sweetener and lots of flour and lots of oil but no eggs, you can't bake a cake. And so at the end of the day, if you're like, hey, I want my body to do this thing, great. Does it have all the chemicals required to do the thing you're asking it to do? And you're like, oh, no, I don't have the minerals. I don't have the methylated B vitamins. I don't have the precursors to the things we're trying to get done. You're not going to get there. So that's the piece you need to make sure you're doing is, do I have all the chemistry to support what I'm asking the body to do? So make sure that when you're using GLP-1s, that you're active somehow. And here's the thing, if you're like, I don't want to work out, fine. You don't have to work out for a long period of time. Let's say you're going to be on a GLP-1 for 3 or 4 months. Great, suck it up, work out to some degree. And I write these little plans for people all the time. So it's not that hard to come up with a little exercise program. I guarantee you, if you just did 20-minute exercise and Googled it, you'd find something that will more or less work. So it's not that hard to come up with these things. So work out just a little bit while you're on it, maintain that muscle mass, get your testosterone levels up, come in with protein. And if you protein smoothies. If you like smoothies or shakes or whatever, I prefer that you eat meat, but it is what it is. Get the protein in. Those are good things. Increase the methylated B vitamins. I would increase D3. That's always a big point because it carries all the ions. And make sure that you've given your body the chemicals it requires. And then, you should be a lot better off. On the GLP-3 side, same type of thing. It's just not as critical because your body's actually getting the hormones to tell it to burn the fat, not stay in a glucose-fed state. That's the other big thing about the glucagon. Once your body starts getting the glucagon, it goes, oh, I'm not supposed to make sugar. I'm supposed to burn fat. Cool. We'll just move to fat as our fuel source. That's one of the reasons that it saves so much more muscle tissue, is because it's not telling the body, I just need energy, get it wherever you want to. And the body gets it from, making sugar by tearing your muscle tissues apart. Retta and those GLP-3s are literally telling the body, no, I want you to use the fat as your fuel source. And so that's, again, why it's a better tool. But you still have to support it. And so that's the thing. If, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just an easy way out. For a lot of people, it's the only way out. Because for what we've eaten, what we've drank, like how we've slept, we've destroyed our metabolic function. If you want to talk about all the chemical toxins, vaccine stuff, if you want to talk about the medications we've taken, the stuff in our food, water, and air, like it's all tearing us apart. And a lot of people have to tell the body, you got to use glucagon now because the body's broken. And so that's why a lot of people are like, I look at diets and be like, you're doing great. And they're like, I've been on this diet for 6 months, I haven't lost anything. And you're like, cool. And they're still working out. You put them on something like Reddit, all of a sudden, like 2-3 months later, they're down 30 pounds and they feel amazing and everything's great. And they've gained muscle tissue, the whole deal, because they were doing the things externally that they needed to do, but there was no change internally. And that's the big piece. So when you give them the peptides and all of a sudden the internal chemistry starts working like it's supposed to again, oh my gosh, everything's great. So it's not that a lot of these people are lazy or whatever. It's they literally have, either the foods they're eating, which are designed to be addictive with these chemicals in them, either they're addicted to the chemicals that are designed to make you addicted to the food. So that's not their fault. Or they've got a genetic issue, or they've just been, so stressed out, their body's just screwed, because the inflammation and everything else that they've got from years and years and years, it gets into a cycle you can't break. So you've got to come in from the outside and go, no, reset. And so that's where a lot of this stuff is. So, I've got, lots of people will do this, get off, maintain their diet, and all of a sudden their body works like it's supposed to again, which is amazing. Plus getting the liver to kind of come back on and flush out some of this inflammation has been helping women with PCOS and endometriosis and PMS issues, people with joint pain, all kinds of stuff. So it's a much, much, much better tool, but you still have to support it. So if someone tells you that all you got to do is take the peptide and you'll be fine, I would be very cautious about working with them. All right, you guys have any questions, hit us up. You guys have a fabulous day. Thanks for your time.